Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I I want to see if there are any questions or comments or any observations that you may have in reference to what we have been talking about for the last couple of weeks, a few weeks, I should say. Maybe speaking of beginning, what it looks like, and our experiences with it. Also, I want to ask if there are any facilitators slash teachers who have been shown something in reference to our journey for change in this earth. Any questions, comments, um, any revelation? None?
Good morning. This is Barbara.
Hmm.
Um, I have literally awakened since Wednesday with physical vertigo, um, with the room spinning, and so I've got some physical imbalance that I got to get under control. Um, but the thing that came to me was, don't trust what you see, trust what you be. And that's what's been reverberating this past week. Don't trust what you see, trust what you be. And that says to me that the physical eyes or our physical bodies or whatever, physically in this plane, will show us certain things, um, and that's partially why we originally deceived ourselves, because um, we believed what we saw or what we heard or what people told us we were. Um, but it reaffirmed to me that we know who we are. And so regardless of what we see, regardless of what the physical world shows us, regardless of what the voting antics are all over the country, regardless of, 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 of the climate change, which is real, it's real. But regardless of that, we can't let that distract us. Um, don't let what distracts us be what we see, but trust what we be. And again, that's what's reverberated with me.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hey, Pastor, it's Ron.
Mm-hmm.
I guess along the same lines, what Barbara said is just throughout the week and last couple of weeks, actually, through my meditations, and whether they be something that I see or someone communicates to me that needs prayer or whatever, what I'm seeing is returning to beginning. Is not something that I can shape. It seems to not look different every time, but it becomes whatever I need it to be. And when I moved out of the way and could see that and not kind of fight it because of what my mind says it's supposed to be or look like, uh, things start to shape or flow better for me. Uh, and I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but I'm a picture guy, and I like seeing things in pictures and what this should look like or what beginning and where it takes you. And what I've learned very quickly is you can't do it that way. It almost one session may be just meditation, one may just be a chant, one may be recreating something. So, it just kind of takes on a new meaning every time I try to enter it. And I don't know if anybody else has had that experience. And if so, if you have, does it seem to work better or flow better or be in rhythm for you if you just kind of relinquish to it? I'm just curious of what kind of feelings you get from that when we go into meditation. Now, it just seems to be a bit different for me.
The relinquishing to it is simply being in sync with universal vibration. And so when you're in sync with universal vibration, and you don't try to go against the current, if you will, that's what doing it our way kind of does. It flows where it needs to flow. It bees what it needs to be. It is what it is. But when we try to curtail that flow, we try to define ourselves how we want the vibrations to flow. We try to put a definition around it, even though we don't consciously do it. We do it by trying to maneuver or determine how we think it should flow. So moving out of the way, as you say, is simply aligning with and becoming one with the vibrations and the resonation.
How do you move yourself out of the way? Can you articulate that?
Me or Barbara?
Either one of you.
Well, I've learned to do it without putting thought to it, without saying, because I'll see something or someone tells me something, I'll see an outcome, and I can't do that. So mine has been just doing the prayer and kind of relinquishing my thoughts as far as what I want my will to be, and just kind of relaxing and letting it be. And whatever I see is what I see. So I can try to shape things at times, and especially if it's something that I have strong feelings about or get emotional about, and then just kind of breathe and let things flow until I can see it clearly. At least that's what has worked for me so far.
For me, this is Barbara. For me, I remember in myself that there are infinite possibilities for everything. And when I try to put a thought around it or create myself, if I'm in sync with the universal flow, my thought, if I try to put a thought around it, it limits the possibility of the outcome to something I hope it to be. But so all I do is I just remember within myself that I don't shape this. There are infinite possibilities, and the one that occurs may be better than any that you can design. Is what I tell myself.
So the commonality there is talking to yourself, reminding yourself of that you're not supposed to shape it. Reminding yourself that when you talk about the infinite possibilities, that the universe has more opportunities to present to you what is needed than you can ever think of. So again, it's all about talking to yourself. Is it not amazing? Go ahead.
I was simply responding, yes.
Oh, is it not amazing that the one thing that helps us to to be who we are and to be in the position to exercise the powers that are inherent in us is talking to ourselves. And that is something that's highly discouraged in our society, talking to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to add on to what Barbara was just saying, and Ron just saying, try not to define whatever it is or judge so much whatever it is that we are encountering at the time, because when we do so, we're typically doing it from a limited mindset or a limited standpoint. And what I mean by that is we are trying to judge or define or shape this thing or see this thing through a limited amount of possibilities because we're only seeing it through more so our limited human experience, so to speak. But then as Ms. Barbara was talking about in terms of seeing it greater and seeing the infinite number of possibilities, is a relinquishing and saying that or acknowledging that I'm not thinking about, or I'm not even presently aware or conscious at this moment of all the possibilities. And therefore I cannot look at the situation as being something that is defeating or impossible, et cetera. And what that also does is that maintains a state of optimism at the same time, and it allows one to have access to those infinite possibilities that then can be implemented, or even just sitting back and not acting at all, and allowing those things to take shape naturally as a flower blooming.
That gives new meaning to let go and let go.
That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mean when I say let go and let God for the benefit of those who may not be clear on what I'm talking about. It's let your humanness go and be Elohim, or allow Elohim to shape whatever it is to be shaped, as opposed to us using the limitations of humanness to do it, which usually result in frustrations anyway. This what I have. Well, go ahead. Is there anyone else? What I have noticed also is there have been any number of articles that I've read over the last few weeks related to the Southern Baptist Church. And you hear much about it in terms of the news media. They're silent pretty much on it. However, what's happening with the Southern Baptist Church is that it appears to be literally falling apart. And I thought that's significant because the origin of our beliefs rests in the foundation of that structure, that religious structure, more so than anything else or any place else. The things that we reject, the things that we embrace, has their origin in that religious structure. And if there is to be a meaningful understanding of the scriptures, a meaningful acceptance of who we are, there has to be a falling away from or elimination of the foundation upon which our beliefs rest. And when that foundational structure has been ruptured, then there is room for a truer foundation to be laid. And I believe that the debris from the elimination of that structure is being removed. And with the removal of that debris from that foundational structure, what we begin to see are the things that we are observing now in regards to the voting rights legislature, the voter suppression, I should say, the divisiveness that's in the land based upon vaccinations, race, all of these policies and principles that are prevalent in our society. Every one of them can be traced back to the principles of the Southern Baptist Church, and I think it speaks volumes when we look at that and see that all of the negative things that's in our society are fed from that fountain of lies, from that fountain of ignorance, from that fountain of racism. And now that we see what's happening with it, I think it is also an indication of the progress that has been made towards change, not just in this geographical society called America, but worldwide as well. So I think the more that we become aware of who we are, the more that other people become aware of who they are as well. Even though they may not be able to articulate it, they know that a change is taking place. And one of the things that strengthens my beliefs in this space where we are is Ron related to me that he had talked to a friend of his, and the friend was teaching and questioning what does it mean to be born again, and I think that that in itself is very, very oh God, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. I think it's a message, for lack of a better term, that shows us where we are in terms of putting things in the macro, and the person asks more specifically about verse 8 of the verse that we've been looking at for quite some time now. So I just believe that that we are closer to where we seek to be, even though we don't know what it is or what it looks like, than we think we are. And also, I think that we have been flirting with, if not living at the place of beginning for quite some time without even knowing it. Any questions or comments about that?
Yeah.
What you're saying also reminds me of the lesson that Kathy taught about the kingdom of God being within us and the mark of the beast, and the dragon who's represented by those religious ecclesiastical figures, and the beast represented by the system of government. All of those things are what I'm reminded of when you talk about what's happening within the Southern Baptists, and not only Southern Baptists, but Roman Catholicism and all of that as well.
And you're right, it's not only the Southern Baptists. And I think probably maybe that's who comes to mind so frequently because of the pivotal role that they have played in shaping the mindset of this nation. The Southern mentality has been the prevailing force in this country, in this earth, forever and a day. I mean, look at the mentality that is in place, the mentality that fosters voter suppression. Look at that mentality. That mentality has its seeds in slavery. And that mentality understands that the only way that it's going to be able to maintain its power and control is through something called the filibuster. And that mentality is wholeheartedly supported by the religious sector. More importantly, it is the evangelicals who are the voice of what we see now. At least they have been the voice in terms of being supportive of it, and actually being the biggest liars on the face of the earth. And when you think about how they are so moral in their lip service, and so there's such they are the examples of Christianity, to be honest with you, when you look at what the nature of Christianity and the history of what it has been since it's been in this earth. And yet they purport to be the overseers of what the scriptures mean, and at the same time are in bed with the Proud Boys and Trump and McConnell and then on the fringes of that, I see the fringes of that being your Catholicism, Presbyterian, etc. All these other denominational bodies who are supported by that leadership of the Democrats as well, meaning that both of them lumped together are not in favor of any meaningful change for anything in this country or this world. For example, why is it that you would allow people to die in Cuba when you have enough vaccine to send there for every single person on that island? Why is the excuse was Cuba don't have syringes? Well, America has syringes. Why is it that you would stop food from going to a nation knowing that people are starving? That makes no sense to me. So I do believe that what we are actually seeing is a wider exposure of the mentality that has garnered favor in this country and ruled it since its inception, to be honest with you. Questions or comments? Okay. The question becomes, how do we approach this? I think that we have an obligation to be as Jesus was when he was in bodily form, and that obligation is to speak truth to power. And speaking truth to power is a bit different than what we have thought it to be. Speaking truth to power is not speaking truth to the physical leadership in this nation. Speaking truth to power is recognizing the negativity in what is presented as being true, recognizing it and correcting it verbally because it is with the tongue that life is spoken. It is with words that changes are made. And the energy of our words, the breath that our words travel on, or the spirit with which this earth was given, through which this earth was given life. So when we speak the words of correction to the lies that have been spoken and are being spoken, when we speak the truth concerning the circumstances that have been brought to bear on the shoulders of those who are already in a weakened state, when we do those things verbally, when what we are actually doing is dismantling the structure that has been built up on lies through all these years. So it is imperative that we not only continue to meditate to receive insight, but it is also imperative that we voice what we see and that we voice what we are experiencing because of the power of the words. Now, the words themselves is not the power, it's the energy that travels with the words that are spoken. And the energy of those words, I think, is seen, even though we have not discussed it in this vein, is seen in verse 8 of that 3rd chapter of John, when it talks about the wind goes where it desires or willeth, and no one knows where it comes from, where it goes. We don't know. We cannot see with our eyes, nor can we fathom with our minds the unique power that travels on the wings of the words that we speak. That power that has the spiritual ability to reshape the whole mindset of this earth, not just nationwide, but globally, changing the global mindset so that we can avert a physical disaster as well as a disaster with humanity in political terms. The political terms are truly not as dangerous as are the climate changes that we're dealing with. It is my contention that just as we are able to restructure the society with our words, we have to also embrace the reality, the necessity of restructuring the climate that we live in, especially when we look at what's taking place. Now, the places that are being shown to us where the climate is so devastating are places that are controlled by Europeans or those of European descent. We don't hear about the disasters that are taking place in countries with people of color. We hear about what's happening in Germany, but we don't hear about what's happening in Africa. We don't hear about what's happening in Brazil or in Guatemala. We hear what's happening in California simply because it costs money. And the reason there is such an uproar about it is not so much because the earth is being devastated and humanity is being adversely affected by it. It is because it's costing money. And I think that is something that we need to look at with a clearer vision, and that is our responsibility to this earth, this physical earth, as well as our responsibility to the spiritual consciousness of this earth. Any questions or comments about that?
Yes. Could you just elaborate a little? Because do you mean that we should be bringing those things to the forefront for everybody to understand and see?
Yes, and by bringing them to the forefront, in bringing them to the forefront, I'm talking about our focus on them, meditating in regards to the climate, as well as we've done with our religion and government. And I think when we do that, they will be brought to the forefront, or at the very least, they will be dealt with because of the tremendous amount of sufferings that are taking place in parts of this earth that we are not privy to hearing about. Is that what you were asking, Audrey?
Yeah. Because there's a war in Ethiopia that we don't hear about. There's stuff going on in the Sudan that we don't hear about. All the big demonstrations in South Africa that we don't hear about. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
And I think that it is incumbent upon us to be not only aware of those things, even if we don't physically, audibly hear about them, we know that they exist. And I'm talking about on a daily basis hearing about them. We know that they exist because we talked about some of them. But the question is, are we focused on them as we are focused on our immediate environment? Because honestly, we must recalibrate our thinking. Spirituality does not end at the shores of this country. And I know that the vast amount of our focus has been on shifting the mindset in this nation. But I do believe that shifting the mindset in this nation will affect the world at large. However, I don't want us to limit our desires for the shifting of a mindset. I don't want us to limit it to this nation. Excuse me, the Chinese need a shift in mindset, the Japanese as well. It's amazing how the tennis player was not Japanese until she became a champion. And now all of a sudden she's Japanese simply because of her interracial background. These are things that need to be addressed. It's amazing to me that in spite of the dangers that are presenting themselves, the IOC is going to continue along the pathway for the Olympics, knowing how dangerous that can be. These types of things on a global scale that needs a focus of our attention. Jesus did not limit himself to just those things that were endemic to where he lived. What Jesus teaches involved the entire world, and if we were to look at the teachings of Jesus in a true sense of study, we will find that the teachings of Jesus were also in China, as well as they were in other parts of the world, and we will also be shown that even prior to Jesus being in this earth in the physical body, the same things that he taught had been taught for centuries in other places of the world. And that says to me that the most important, the most powerful weapon that we have is the understanding of what Jesus taught. Not so much because it was he who taught it, but because it had been taught for a century, and it is the universe saying to us that these are the foundational principles of not only change, but they are the foundational principles of stability as well. But this this stability cannot be appreciated if we don't commit ourselves to bringing stability at it, regardless of what it costs. And I know that it appears as though things are worse now than they have ever been. But I remind you, it is always the darkest before the dawn. It is always a tremendous amount of confusion before there is order. And as it is with any structure, when a building is demolished, the rubble must be removed before something else can be built in its place. And the rubble of spiritual misinformation must be removed in order for the structure to appear, the structure of balance, truth, and peace to appear in our in the global society. So I don't want us to be dismayed in any way. Neither do I want us to feel like it is an overwhelming task and that we are too small in terms of being mere men to deal with this. If we see ourselves as mere men, we are too small to deal with it. However, when we embrace the reality of our essence, then nothing is too small for us because we are the universe and the universe is us. And the order that we bring to ourselves, we bring to the universe as well. And I hope that I'm not rambling. Yeah, questions or comments?
Good morning. This is Evelyn. I've heard everything everybody was saying, and I felt deep within that I was told great things are happening, watch and listen. And I thought it was just for me, but then I realized when you begin to know who you are, it's not me, it's for we. So I don't know why that was given. I don't, not, as you say, don't shape it or give it any form, but just watch and listen. I'm done.
And you are hearing pretty much the same thing that Barbara is as well. Even when she spoke of the vertigo, the first thing came to my mind was that she was experiencing a world that is that has spun out of control and continues to spin out of control. And just as the vertigo will be brought under control, so with the earth and its consciousness. So I thank you for sharing that, Ms. Evelyn. Anyone else?
Hey, Pastor, it's Ron. I'm gonna go talk about the same thing, but from a slightly different perspective, if I can. Returning to beginning, and I want to look at the possibility of getting there through forgiveness. That our last conversation on that has not left me, and I've been giving it some thought. And we talk about forgiveness being a restoration process. What are you restoring? What is being restored? You're taking things back to where they were. If you say it's two individuals, you're restoring it back, that relationship back to where it was before the incident or the fault happened. And I'm thinking that forgiveness is much more powerful than that. And you guys may have seen it or said this the other day, and I guess I'm just now seeing it. There are things that connect us as humans, not only through breath and wind, which is extremely powerful, I think more powerful than we realize, but there's also an energy field that every human being has, and that energy feel is very strong as well. And this is not just both of these things that you're saying. You could say if the physical body dies, there is no breath, there is no energy field. But this goes deeper than that. I think forgiveness goes deeper than that. I think forgiveness restores to a place beyond what is physical. And when you look at it from that perspective, and just going on what you're talking about now, with that understanding of going back to forgiveness and recognizing that the Son of Man, and I'm not talking about Jesus, I'm talking about us now, with the understanding of recognizing that you are that liaison, you are that spokesperson, you are that peace that rests between all worlds and that is respected by the universe and that is able to be all of vibrations. When you make that restoration, when you make that declaration of forgiveness, it takes it back beyond the physical limitations of those two people. And if we can see that, it puts beginning in a place where, you know, as we were saying earlier, we've had avenues to get there and we've been there, and we just couldn't see it. And I think it's becoming clearer now and it's more powerful now as we recognize what Jesus was saying and how that relates to the kingdom being the universe, and as Barbara said, has infinite possibilities or lights of ways of enlightening us, showing us who and what we are. So I look at that and I think of all the barriers that are up in the earth. We have the different colors of skin. We have classes of people. We just have we limit ourselves on financial gain, and those who are educated and those who are sick or those who live across the tracks. If there is a way to say, well, the African did not put up those boundaries or those walls, but he had a part in it because he is the same breath and he is a part of the same energy. So if there is a way, give that. Forgive all the barriers that are put up, all the things that keep us apart, all the things that say, I am I alone and you are you alone. But a way of looking at this from a different perspective, I think forgiveness is probably the fastest way that could be done if it is done by one who is sincere about this journey and can see the clarity of it and recognize what that will do. Because I think that forgiveness is on the same place as returning to beginning. At least that's what I'm seeing. Is there anybody that has any see that a different way or any way to support that or can say it in a better way?
No, Ron, I agree 100%. And what we were talking about earlier today with when you and Ms. Barbara were talking about meditating, it is all one in the same thing. When I was talking about seeing things through a limited perspective, it is unforgiveness that keeps us separate. It doesn't allow us to have, I guess, as easy access, for a lack of a better word, to the limited, the unlimited possibilities. Those unlimited possibilities always exist. We always have access to those unlimited possibilities. But what came up as you was talking, it is only us that close our access off to those things or make those things harder to I'm hesitant to say reach because they're always there and they're always available. But what I'm trying to point out or definitely show is that it is us and we have the power, how readily available they are, and it's part of us. It's who we are. It's not even a birthright. It goes beyond a birthright because a birthright just says that it is something that you have. Is decreed that you have access to. And I'm talking about something deeper here, which is something that is us. That unforgiveness allows us to take the wall down, so to speak. It allows our vision to change beyond that of just a physical and limited perspective to see and touch and reach a lot more. I'm kind of at a loss of words, but no, I agree with you 100%. All of it is exactly the same.
Yeah. Born again, returning to the beginning to me is something that is becoming clearer, although I don't understand it totally. It's becoming clearer because I see the access that we have. So it's not something that we need to fear, or even to say, as you kind of say it in different words, that I can't do this, or this is bigger than me. It is not bigger than you. And who else to do it? Who else to do it but he who is searching for truth and trying to get righteousness back into the land, or set things straight the way they should be. It has everything to do with your desires to be spiritual and to be light, and for people to see life. And I think that's where we are, and that's why I guess it seems like we're covering a lot of ground rapidly. But they're all spiritual things. There's nothing we've talked about that can help anybody material, but this has all been the most important things that we've seen and talk about in the earth. And it's what's holding the earth together. And it's not material at all. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Ron. I'll wait till you finish, Ron. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. It's just a lot of stuff. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, no. I just want to, comment, as we talk about, returning back to the beginning. And for me, personally, growing up in the city, there were some things that I, did not truly really appreciate when you talk about, dealing with nature and, just being able to experience, just some of the things that I'm experiencing now, in terms of just being able to appreciate, God's creation. And I just, share it in this way, that, being able to just cut the grass, being able to water the flowers, being able to just be still. And you talked about it in terms of pictorially, visually seeing it, but I'm just receiving so much, just love from the universe in terms of just spending time, in nature and just doing things that, I think that sometimes, we take for granted. And, not to tell my, my personal story, but, growing up in the city, Ron, I never, spent a lot of time cutting grass, man. I never spent, a lot of time, fishing. I never spent a lot of time doing some things that I experienced to a certain extent, but not in terms of as I'm experiencing it now. And so, when I hear, the conversations and our discussions, I'm just in awe, just to realize that I feel as though I am returning back to the beginnings, looking at some foundational truths, some spiritual truths, and now just coming into that knowledge of truly who I am as Elohim. And so, it's just an exciting time to be living in. And I just wanted to just share those thoughts in terms of just my own conceptualization of returning to the beginning. and I just got back, off of vacation, Ron, and I was up in the Gurney, and I was up in the mountains, and I had a chance to, just see some things that just made me realize just how awesome God is. So I just wanted to share that thought. I'm done. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you. Can I ask everyone to please mute themselves, please?
Sorry, y'all.
Okay, no problem. I think, because you're absolutely right. I mean, things are starting to magnify themselves to us. If you notice, and what you're describing, and I think we've all sort of noticed this. I hope so. We're becoming more sensitive to things. We're seeing things we did not see. We're learning to appreciate things, even though some of it may be or something that not always desirable, but you're learning to appreciate where you are and who you are. And that is a big difference to me. One of the things that you remind me of when you were talking is I say to myself, nothing is too big for me now. Nothing is too big for us. And does not mean that I still don't have those feelings of being overwhelmed sometimes, but I see us differently now. I see us as being the pulse of the universe. And it is the man who has, since creation, been the bottom of the totem pole, who is really holding this whole thing up, literally. And you're holding it up with your spirit. You're holding it up with your soul and who we are. And that's what I mean when we talk about the forgiveness part. We're already there. And we can't say anymore, forgive him for doing this. It's forgive us. Lord, forgive me. This is a part of me too. Forgive me for putting up this barrier. Forgive me for what is going on. Forgive me for what I see. So I just we had that conversation last week, and that kind of stuck with me, and just bits and pieces of it just really kind of resonated and made me look at that a bit differently.
Ron, this is Barbara. I've heard everyone who's spoken about this, Georgian, Shell, and I would add returning to beginning through forgiveness by way of unconditional love, because there's no way you can return to beginning. You can't forgive without the love part. Is what I heard you say. There's a rabbi by the name of Shani Lebowitz who said it this way: true love is free from expectations, empty of preconceived notions. In unconditional love, there are no disappointments, no expectations, no rejections. So it's giving fully and receiving fully. So when we let go of our own agendas, there's no way we can forgive until we do it through love. Because if love is not having expectations and not having disappointments, then everything that's been done to us by someone else or by a circumstance or by a situation, we have to let go of that, because not to let go says that we have a preconceived notion about it. It makes us feel a certain way. It makes us experience things a certain way when we hear about it. Well, that may be so. We may seemingly experience things, but we've got to let it go. We've got to not hold on to it. And when we cannot hold on to it, even if, like in meditation, thoughts come and you acknowledge them and you let them go. The same thing has to happen when we return, when we forgive somebody. And since God is love, everything is done in love, through love, for the sake of love, about love. So I think you're right on the money when you. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say money. I don't want to put money in there. You're right on the mark. you're right on the mark when you say there has to be love, and that love has to be unconditional and hold no baggage.
Yes. Yes. Because without love, Barbara, there are divisions again. There is divisions. You bring it right back. You bring separations.
Without love, you don't know who you are. Because if Elohim is love, what is that saying? If you say that you are Elohim and you are you have expectation and disappointment because of circumstances and actions that are egregious to you, then are you really who you say you are, or is it just lip service being paid to something? Because when we look at what love is in terms of the Aramaic understanding of it, it's the spark that becomes a flame, that becomes a raging fire filled with passion and affection towards its object. And what is that? If you are love itself, then you are that passion that directs yourself, your desires for the betterment of humanity towards everyone without regard to what is taking place. Maybe the idea of the African and the European are a picture of something. And everything in between is a gradation between the African and the European. Suppose that's what it is, and
if you need some money, call her. She got some funds.
Would you please? Hello. Would you mute your phone, please? Thank you. Suppose that is what this is a picture of. That the whole purpose behind allowing different skin colors in the earth is to bring humanity to the place where the gradations are eliminated, and the elimination of those gradations represented by the balance in the earth. Suppose for a moment also that forgiveness is indeed the bridge across which our love travels in order to bring to a state of ripeness everything that is unripened. And in doing so, we actually don't we eliminate the judgments that are made when we see different skin colors. Because when you think about it, the greatest judgments are made when we look at the African skin or the European skin. In between that, it's almost like it doesn't even matter in terms of how things have devolved for humanity since the existence of humanity on this earth. So,
Pastor,
yes.
Pastor, I would say that love is the bridge across which forgiveness travels, instead of forgiveness is the bridge across which love travels. Because if there's no love, there's not going to be that forgiveness.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So if that is true, then we are indeed the bridge across which forgiveness travels. And when there is no traveling, there is no love, because there's no bridge. And right now, I know that we are bridge builders. If we think about our personal lives and things that have happened to us, whether it be along this journey or prior to us even thinking about this journey, if we think about what has taken place in our lives, change did not begin until we condition ourselves to release all of those things that were deemed to be adverse to us. And in doing so, it actually strengthened us, and it also opened our eyes to a greater awareness of the bondage that people put themselves in when they make efforts to put others in bondage. I know along this journey, there have been so many things that I thought were being presented by the Creator for my benefit, and they were, but in a different way. And I'll give you a case in point. I thought that, and this is just one among thousands of things that I can mention that happened. I thought that going to Beulah was being offered to me by the universe, and it was, but for a different reason. Had that not taken place the way it did, I would not have contact with some of the greatest people I ever met in my life. The leaving Mount Calvary was painful, yet at the same time it was strengthening. And the resolve that was strengthened was not so much what I saw in understanding the scripture when I left there, but the resolve was strengthened in whom I put my trust. Because leaving there, looking at it with my eyes, was devastating to my family structure in terms of support. Yet, my trust was became more evident. My trust in my Creator became more evident, and nothing changed. As a matter of fact, it was enhanced as opposed to being a negative occurrence. So it's these types of things that I believe if we reevaluate our lives, we will see that these have been opportunities of strength for us, and the strength did not come until we were able to exercise the power of forgiveness. And I'm not going to lie to you, when I left Mount Calvary, I had to go through stages in order to deal with forgiveness. And it took a minute to do that. And I knew it was taking time to do that. And I wrestled with it because I wanted it to happen all at once, but it didn't. And I never shall forget that the 119th Psalm, preaching through it, is what got me, opened my eyes to this state of forgiveness that has become just like taking another breath now. So, and I'm sure that there are others of you, if you look at where you were and where you are, you'll see pretty much the same thing. Questions, comments?
Well, Rev, or whoever was before me can go ahead.
Okay, thanks, George. This is Audrey. I'm listening to you talk about love and forgiveness, and then I also heard George talking about nature and appreciating nature, and I think that's an important part too, in terms of nature, because when we show love and respect for nature, I mean, the Creator has provided everything in nature for it to heal itself. And He's it's also provided in nature a means for us to be healed. Look at all the medicinal plants and things like that. And also the number of studies that I've seen come out in the last few years where people who are suffering from depression, when they get out into nature, they feel better. Kids who have ADD and ADHD and all that, when you get them out into nature, they seem to do better. So I think in terms of love, there's an aspect of respect. So when we respect nature itself, I think I know this sounds kind of a little bit far-fetched, but I think that's a way that nature forgives us when we show love and respect for it. And then that allows it to heal itself. Anyway, I'm still thinking about this, but anyway, that's as far as I want to go at the moment.
Well, Audrey, that makes that's a scientific reality. Because I read a study not too long ago on how people who have high blood pressure, when they walk in the grass barefoot and in the midst of trees, it lowers their blood pressure. So that's not far-fetched. That's not conjecture. It's just real. And that is not something that was brought into being by any human. That's the connection that we have, the unicity that we have with nature. And to take that a step further in what you were saying, Audrey, what happens when there is no grass? When you live in a quote-unquote concrete jungle where everything is asphalt and concrete?
Yeah, I think that connection to nature and the respect for nature is what's going to heal this climate change disaster that we're experiencing. Absolutely.
I hear, listening at what you said in conjunction with what George was saying, the attitudes are different when there is no connection with nature. When I say attitudes, I'm talking about the attitudes that men have towards each other when there is no connection with nature. And being in that place of unicity with nature changes things. Why? When you think about life in the city, it is hectic and it is extremely fast. When you look at people who are exposed to nature itself, they generally walk slower. Which means that you take time to notice things, or you have more opportunity to do that anyway. And when you begin to pay attention, nature responds. There is a woodpecker that I see every day. Well, I won't see it now because I'm out of town. But when I'm home, I see that woodpecker every day. And if I go out at a different time, usually I don't hear it, I don't see it, and I'll sit. And woodpecker, I haven't seen you today. Where are you? And almost on cue, eventually it shows up. What am I saying? It sounds crazy. Okay, I'll give you that. But the relationship that we have developed with the wildlife, the rabbits, the birds, in the area is unbelievable to some people and appreciated by those who understand what I'm saying. A rabbit will feed less than 5 feet from me, 3 feet from me, and pays no attention to it. So all of these things are common to me, is what I'm saying. And And I do believe that we are doing something for each other. Their fears are being healed, and my agitation at the same time is being dealt with. And I'm much calmer when I have opportunity to do that. And if that is the case, and it is, then when that scripture talks about all of talks about nature, or talks about the earth mourning for man's redemption, what is that redemption about? It's about man purchasing, reclaiming his soul, as opposed to totally embracing his mind. Reclaiming his soul, and when man reclaims his soul, redeems his soul from the servitude that he has submitted it to in terms of his intellect or the world around him, when he reclaims his soul, then he begins to reclaim divine domination in the earth, which means that the earth begins to redeem itself, free itself from the danger that it presents to humanity and to itself. I'm done.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Just based off the word that I heard Ron said of humanity, it's my opinion that everyone is connected. And in everyone being connected, there is an origin. However, and what I mean by everyone is connected and everything is connected, the Atlantic Ocean is not better than the Pacific Ocean, nor is the Pacific Ocean better than the Atlantic Ocean. They're both oceans. Both of them serve a purpose. One could form an argument that the Atlantic Ocean gives you a more brinier oyster in terms of taste. One could form an argument that the Pacific Ocean gives you a more fuller oyster or bigger oyster. Atlantic Ocean gives you blue shell crabs. The Pacific Ocean gives you king crab legs. So everything is connected. The Ethiopian is not better than the Mongolian. The Mongolian is not better than the Malarian. All of them have contributed to the life. Could you form an argument and say that the Ethiopians were stronger in math and algebra? Because by way of Ethiopia, we do get pi, 22/7 or 3.14. Yet the Mongolian gave us gunpowder. So we're all connected here, and yes, there is an origin, yet no entity is better than the other. Everyone on this phone, or everyone that Miss Richard covered, man, one of y'all broke. You can't be broke because I ain't broke. Now, you could be bent, yeah, but you're not broke. So we're all connected. Your success is my success. You get a promotion on your job, I'm going to tell you, let's go out to eat. I ain't get no promotion. You got the promotion. And there are areas in this that I really do have to work on now, because it's mostly predicated upon, do I like you? Do we eat at the same dinner table spiritually? Whatever I do out here, it has to benefit my enemy. If it doesn't benefit my enemy, then it is for selfish reasons. And that's an area that I really do have to grow in. And, I embrace it. So when I wake up and, hey, George, did you do good by your enemy? And when I say enemy does not mean that they did something to me. I could have done something to them. So by way of humanity, everyone is connected.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it like that. No, go ahead. That's it.
No, I thought you were ending from the tone. everything is indeed connected, and recognizing that the key to it is not just to recognize it, but to respect it as well. And I'm when you mentioned the word, when we talk about enemy, I'm reminded of a lesson that Kathy taught some time ago when we talked about the idea of enemy. There is a perception of enemy, but there are no enemies to us as we regard enemies in terms of the dictionary, the Webster's dictionary. The dictionary meaning of an enemy is someone who you hold contempt for, or someone who is an adversary to you. The scriptural, if you look at it, scripture, the one who holds contempt for you is you. We are our greatest enemy, because if we understand who we are, that we are indeed Elohim, that we are indeed love, then there are, as Barbara stated earlier, no expectation. In other words, there are no disappointments, there's no contempt, there's no friction between us and anyone. There's no enmity between us and anyone. We are, we recognize that everything that is presented to us, everyone who crosses our path, are there for a reason. And if we truly believe what the scripture says, then whatever is meant for our bad, Elohim intends for our good, meaning that regardless of who or what crosses our pathway, it is there to strengthen us in a very, very, very positive way. And the reason it doesn't is because if our perception of it is not clear, then we receive it in a negative way, then that means that we have become our own enemy. So once we recognize that, it is much easier to live a life of balance and to be a more evenly keeled person, as opposed to the tremendous amount of highs and lows that we do experience or have opportunity to experience in this life. Questions or comments about that?
Yes. In regards to what you're talking about, I guess first starting with enemy and then moving on to love. It is ourselves that essentially do that, and it is more so in an absence of love in terms of being also an enemy to ourselves. Uh, uh, well, thinking about everything that has just been recently said, and I've wanted to speak for a while now, but as things kept on being said, I kept on just seeing more examples and more ways to see what it is that I was thinking or wanting to say at the moment. Love is a catalyst, and love is engagement. And for example, starting off, love is engagement beyond the self. It is identifying that goes beyond the self. When when Ron mentioned, why not me? That was being fueled by love as a catalyst to be engaging and being more than he saw himself. But the love was the catalyst because he wanted to be more, or wanted to see flourishing, that of the universe, that of the world. Love is what drove that. And when he fell into that love, like I said, it took him from just being beyond himself or just seeing the limited Ron, and now he's engaging and automatically accepting to being more. He's accepting to those unlimited possibilities. When George and Philly mentioned being out in nature, part of love is engagement and appreciation. and that's what he described as he cut the grass, and or just being out in the yard, etc. So once again, when he does that, what he is doing is he is interacting with nature in a way that goes beyond and further out than what he did when he was younger, growing up. Now, as he engages nature, in a sense, he becomes part of nature. He then also becomes different as well, as he is experiencing something um, out in his environment that was more than he was experiencing before. As at least Pastor Richard, you were talking, and Audrey mentioned like concrete in New York and the fast pace, et cetera, is actually the opposite of that love and engagement and appreciation for an environment that is actually taking place, because there is a wall that goes up, and the wall that goes up is based upon one protecting oneself, and then also one in this fast pace being consumed or focused on one's just own personal needs. And it's less engagement with the environment, others, and things like that. And it's seeing that all of these other things are an impediment, a hindrance, or a block to what it is that the self is trying to achieve. And that is the opposite of love. So the experiencing of nature, the further experiencing of one's environment, having that appreciation and engagement with it is the act of love. And it's impossible to go beyond itself and have that engagement and appreciation without love. To finish.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yeah. Forgiveness. And I appreciate everything Sheldon said. He already tied it up so beautifully, but that was one of the things I at first struggled with is acceptance and love and seeing people for who they are, and not putting up barriers and not letting my feelings and emotions be barriers for me seeing people or understanding people or appreciating people, because what I had to recognize is that my feelings and emotions is not what determines whether or not I love someone. We get that sometimes, and we see that especially in this nation, because our divorce rate and how much we divide ourselves from others. Love is not something that is understood. It's something we take for granted. As Sheldon said, and we see it expressed in different ways, but when we look at it and we only can see things based on how we feel, if that is what defines us, then that also limits us. Because I may feel one way about you today and you feel a different way about me the next day. And what does that mean? If we allow that to define us, then limiting ourselves and the possibilities of what the relationship could be. So as Sheldon put it, and I can't say it the way he did it though, but the responsibility that we've taken on, we are the definition of love. We are showing that and how powerful it is, and it's basically it's me saying it in my word. I'm giving you what you need, and I'm doing that out of my desire. I desire to be loved. I desire to be fulfillment in the earth. I desire to be light and righteousness, and that is the love that I bring forth to you. So even though I may feel some kind of way, and again have to talk myself back, does not mean that I don't have that ability to love. But that is the catalyst for this whole thing. Once we started talking about forgiving and everyone has the ability to forgive, just like everyone has the ability to love. but we can only limit ourselves in that degree. So, thank you. I think Sheldon said it better, but thank you. I just want to add that.
Oh, you said it great, Ron. Another thing that you just made me think about as well, in terms of letting something be. What happens is what we do a lot of times in a natural way is we determine what something already is or what it should be. And so we define what it is. We define, for example, what nature is. Well, when we stop defining what nature is and determining what nature is dependent on our limited experience, we then allow nature to flourish and open up in a way to us, and we're able to exceed and experience more, which that in itself is love, because love also is discovery. Love is allowing something to be what it is naturally. As Audrey was talking about, like all the medicinal attributes that nature automatically provides us, and in how nature has always done that. Like you think about all the medications that we have today, these same things were once treated from natural ways, and then it is pharmaceutical companies that found out the chemical properties of these plants and things like that, and then made synthetic drugs. Well, it would have been impossible to be open to experiencing all of these medicinal things throughout human history if it was like, okay, regimen, this is what this is for, this is what that is for, and I am only here to use it how I want to use it. There's no appreciation and engagement for that discovery that it is that I'm talking about. As George is in nature, I hope George don't mind me keep using this example, but all of us are kind of like going through this. But as he's out in his yard or doing yard work or whatever, I know definitely Miss Bessie can relate to this. There's appreciation for plants and nature that is taking place. And like I said, as you have this appreciation, this awe, and this love, you are discovering more and more about this thing, and also being encapsulated about this unveiling and discovery that is taking place. If you have a partner or a loved one in the same way, you're allowing that person to be who it is that they are, and there is an appreciation of that as well. That is love. I'm finished.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I didn't mean
Okay.
y'all to stop talking.
They had you. You said everything.
No.
No. What I've noticed is that regardless of what we have started with for the last few months, we always circle back, end up talking about two things. That's love and forgiveness. That tells me that that is something in this that's really, really missing, that needs to be addressed consistently in relationship to everything else that we are being shown. Because without those two ingredients, it doesn't matter what we're being shown. It doesn't matter what we teach. It doesn't matter what we say we believe or who we say we are. Without love and forgiveness, they're non-existent. Anyway, there's no power in any of it. And I do believe that. That is the reason it's been so difficult in past years to bring about change. in this universe. I'm constantly reading articles where they're speaking to the energy that's been received in the earth from different planets and from different events that are taking place in the universe in relationship to the moon, the energy from Sirius B, the energy that we are receiving during different phases of the moon, and how the magnetic field from the sun is constantly affecting the earth. It's almost as if we are having more interactions with the energies of the universe than we have in the past. And I have to believe it's because of our desire to bring the balanced energy into this realm for the purpose of humanity, really seeing that it is far greater than any human, that we are not just ants in the universe, we're not just in bodies that's sent here to be a have or have not, or somewhere in between that. That we are the masters of the universe, the dominators of the universe, the creators of everything that is. We are the balance that we seek. We are the love that we give. And when we give love, we're giving ourselves. We are everything that we seek that is positive. We are it. It is simply us who have limited ourselves by looking at the house we live in as being us, as opposed to seeing it for what it is, simply a residence for a temporary amount of time, a residence that will be abandoned at some point along this journey. And when we see it that way, we are more apt to be our brother's keeper, knowing that when we are the fence, the protector of our brothers, we are also the defense and protector of ourselves. So if there are no more comments or questions or observations, then we will call it a day. Are there any?
Yes, this is Angela. I just wanted to say dealing with love and kindness and my experiences. I'm learning. Well, I know that I am loving kindness, but just actually being loving kindness when these things are presented, towards me, because I have the choice whether to say, okay, I choose to forgive this person. I can keep all this anger and what they did inside of me and allow it to hurt me, but I chose not to. I chose to know that I'm loving kindness and they're loving kindness too, but they just don't know that they're loving kindness. So by me knowing that we're all loving and kindness, I'm just going to say not just me. We have more like a better understanding, of what's going on. I don't know understand it all or why this or why that, but I just know that I just choose to forgive, because not only frees them, it helps me. And then when all of it comes back to my mind, I just say, okay, I dealt with this. I choose to forgive them. Yes, they did this, but I can't keep going over and over about what had happened. So I just try to just push it and just let it be what it is. That's all I needed to say.
Thank you. So you made a choice that you will not be your own enemy. You will be your deliverer. Anyone else or anyone observation about that? Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. And we will talk again tomorrow. Have a great day.
Have a good day, y'all.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.